Namaste. Welcome back to the Force Niyama podcast. I'm Katerina, and today I'll be sharing my conversation with Uday Bhosale. Uday Bhosale is a highly regarded Iyengar Yoga teacher originating from Pune and currently based in the UK. Uday embarked on the path of yoga in his late teens, when in 1998 he enrolled in classes at the Ramamani Iyengar Memorial Institute as part of his martial arts training. Gradually, his passion for yoga overtook his interest in martial arts. For 15 years, Uday has been studying, assisting, and teaching at the Iyengar Yoga Institute in Pune with the Iyengar family. He also assisted in Geetaji's therapy classes. In this interview, Uday shares how his journey in yoga has evolved over the years, what drives him today to practice yoga and teach his students. He also recalls some sweet moments and memories of Guruji and the Iyengar family. Uday was awarded a British Empire Medal for fundraising services to National Health Service charities and for supporting the mental health of yoga practitioners during COVID-19. Currently based in Reading, UK, Uday teaches classes and conducts online and in-person workshops in the UK, India, and Europe. Now, let me welcome Uday Bhosale. Uday, thank you so much for joining me for this interview today. I am very excited and I'm looking forward to seeing what this conversation will bring about. I'm of course very curious to learn more about your journey in yoga, the kind of challenges that you had to overcome, how you dealt with them, your insights and learnings that you carried with you from the years that you studied in the Iyengar Yoga Institute in Pune, and some sweet memories about Guruji and Geetaji that still warm your heart. So how I saw you first was through that picture which I shared with you, Uday sitting in Baddha Konasana, and Guruji is behind him, behind you, and he is guiding and correcting you while you are doing this pose. Can you share what was exactly happening and what was that moment for you? How did you feel when Guruji was giving some probably subtle corrections while you were doing this asana?
First of all, thank you for having me. And as you said initially, it's a pleasure to be talking to you over this medium again. Um, uh, Going back to the picture, it's actually one of the pleasant memories. It was shot while we were having some pictures taken for a book, Guruji's book, obviously published by DK Publications. I think the holistic book, the holistic yoga. So there were some pictures which they wanted in addition to what the first edition had. So some of us, we were lucky to be picked and taken to a place near Pune where this photo shoot actually happened. So this is kind of behind the scenes picture which was taken by Jake Clennell, one of the son of one of teachers, Bobby Clennell, one of the popular names in Iyengar Yoga. So her son, who is a director who works with films, so he was there and he was taking some pictures. So that's the picture shot by him. It again, that picture. So this is Baddha Konasan picture was used in this book as well later on. Not this, but the other one, which the actual photographer assigned for the book he had taken. So he was, the Guruji obviously wanted certain things adjusted and some subtle changes which he was instructing there. And I can't recall what exactly he said because I was just trying to follow what he was doing there, what he was suggesting. But the one of the funny incidences over there was at that time it was month of April, and I remember the date clearly. It was 1st April, and the reason I remember the date is On 19th of April, I was supposed to get engaged. And as this picture happened, as this picture was taken, there were a few other pictures taken, and I was posing for Veerabhadrasan too in the background, and all those pictures happened. In the evening, when we were sitting, it was a nice resort where we were all put up, one of the resort which belonged to one of Guruji's students. So we were just sitting around, and Guruji just called me, "Hey, come here." And I rushed over him and I said, "Yes, Guruji." Guruji said, "You know what these people are saying? Like, what is coming now? Is there some complaint or is something not right?" I said, "What happened, Guruji? What is it? They're saying the picture looks good, but you will have to get rid of your mustache." Okay, whatever, anything you say, Guruji, means in my mind, it was no big deal at all. But generally, people have a lot about how their mustache is, and in India, at least, I don't know about elsewhere, but often it is seen as a sign of pride, and people bet against something, saying that if this doesn't happen, I'll just shave off my mustache. So it's something matter of pride for them. For me, it didn't matter that way. Guruji was saying it, so I was like, there was not even a second thought. I said, okay, fine. And whatever you say, Guruji said. He said, okay, because the Veerabhadrasan too, when I'm looking sideways, and I don't know, aesthetically, the photographer didn't appreciate it as much or wanted to change. I agreed that. And in the evening, when I was talking to my then would be fiance, I was talking to her, my wife now. And I said, so this happened, and the day was good. Photo shoot happened, and just Guruji mentioned that I'll have to shave off, and I'll just do that for tomorrow. She was, she was like, hold on a minute. What did you say? You're going to shave off your mustache? I said, yeah, that's what Guruji said, because it's not looking good in the picture. They're saying. My wife said, if you don't grow a mustache back, I'm not going to get engaged. I said, don't worry. This is 1st April and it's 19th. It's plenty of days. Now, looking at the head, maybe the scene appears different, but I said, that is one thing which I'm confident will definitely grow back. It was quite funny back then.
You did.
When obviously I did shave off, but the picture didn't make into the book as well. So always, but it was fine. As in, it didn't matter to me at all. But yeah, the reaction from my wife was that.
Mhm.
And maybe that's why, I mean, Guruji knew that how people can be a little fussy about it or sensitive about it.
You know, it's actually very interesting, at least for me. I sometimes wonder why Guruji never had a beard, never had mustache in any of his pictures. He was always clean shaved. Did you ever ask him about that?
Well, not like that. I didn't dare to ask. It can be looked at as one of the things of like having the part of your saucha, as in your cleanliness, taking regular bath, keeping yourself well groomed, shaved, and presentable. Because obviously he was always looked after. Means from the time that we've seen him, people would come and see him. So he always made sure. Means not that he was like fancy dresses or something like that. As we all know, he was pretty simple that way. But being presentable, he was always like that.
So, Uday, coming back to the beginning of your journey in Iyengar Yoga, Ali Dashti, who was your Taekwondo master and who also happened to be your first Iyengar Yoga teacher, introduced you and your colleagues from Taekwondo class to Iyengar Yoga. And later on, he guided you to start taking classes in Ramamani Iyengar Yoga Institute in Pune.
Yes, I always give him credit for bringing me to this. always whenever asked, or whenever my beginning has been like, whenever it has been inquired about, I always give him credit, because it's thanks to him that I was introduced to the institute and the Iyengar family. Yeah, so he will always be my first teacher, and he will always have that credit there.
So for teenager Uday, what was the motivation to submit to yoga classes back then?
So motivation, to be honest, now here I'll be honest. Initially, the motivation, rather, it felt like there's something wrong. Is there a subtle punishment which the teacher is perhaps giving? Because the way that martial arts, the taekwondo classes used to happen is strict discipline. We used to work really hard. It was just 1 hour long class, but was killing, literally. So it used to be quite strict, strong, and whatever the teacher says was to be followed. Otherwise, the consequences were quite obvious, kicks and punches. So you better do it or you face it. So that's why the discipline always used to be there. And when teacher says something, you follow. So when teacher said that, if you need to learn, I see you're interested, and then if you want to learn more, this is the place you should come to. Initially, with that reluctance, I said, we're doing taekwondo. As a teenager, doing all that jumping, kicking, punching, all of that, hundreds of kicks. We were really strong and really, it's that 1 hour thrice a week used to really like get us in that strong shape. And then being suggested to go for a yoga class. We knew that we were doing, later on, we got to know that we were learning asanas as a blend of this practice. But then going to some place where you're just learning yoga, was not really sure, not that keen. But because the teacher said, fine, follow. We gathered courage. There were few others also who came along with me there. I was not the only one. So two other colleagues were there. We went there. He said, sir, but we are still coming to your class. He said, okay, fine, you start. So we went to his beginner's batch then. And he said, enough, this is not what you should be doing here. You better join the classes downstairs. And downstairs was Prashantji's class. Now, as a teenager at that time, getting into Prashantji's class, and obviously he also didn't know who I was. And so the first class I remember, when I went to Prashantji's class, coming from the background where within 1 hour, like as the half an hour passed, we were dead tired, and then we were just waiting to get through half hour with that kind of regimen. Coming to a class where the entire class we did trikonas, knowing, I don't know if you are aware of Prashantji's teaching, the way he gets into the depth of it, going on explaining certain things. That was a big shock. That was a complete shocker at that point of time. Like, what is it? 2 hours and we're just doing this? So we used to doing so many jumps and kicks and this and that. But he was going on saying something about Trikonasana and repeating on this side, that side. While he is talking, while the teacher is talking, explaining something, people in the background were perhaps moving here, adjusting their props. So it felt, coming from that disciplined background, where when the teacher is saying, you just stand straight, listen, follow the orders, follow the commands. Coming from that background to see that the teacher is speaking in front and someone is just walking across, picking up a bolster, blanket, or something like that, it felt like, how can that person be so disrespectful to the teacher? So I completely felt lost in that environment. I just didn't relate to what was happening there. Obviously, couldn't understand what he was saying and going on saying. So I was completely lost. So first, the initial introduction itself was quite shocking. And for some time, that was the last class I did because I just couldn't gather the courage. Uh, Ali sir is not accepting me in his class. He is asking me to go here where I'm completely lost. I don't know what is happening there. So in my mind, I was thinking, is this some kind of punishment that
Mm-hmm.
he has given me? Then later on, he said, maybe you'll take some time to understand or to learn from him. And then he just sent me to Geetaji's class, asked me to attend. And when I attended Geetaji's class at that time, the way I again remember the first class I did with her, the way she was going on explaining it literally felt like oh, she's narrating the experiences that I'm having. Whatever the next thing I'm feeling, my mind is getting stuck on, or whatever the ache and pain that I'm worried about, or what I'm experiencing and wanting to deal with, that is exactly something that she is talking about. So it felt as if she's just looking at me and teaching, or is she just teaching for me? Obviously, there were 60 other people in that
Mm-hmm.
class. And that was a surreal experience. I mean, how is this happening? Or maybe she's so much focused on me. For some time, I did have that while in the class. It felt like she's just looking at me. She's just teaching me over here. I had that kind of feel for some time. Later on, realized that's how everyone feels in a class. So nothing special about me there. But that was an amazing experience. That's when I felt like, well, this is something phenomenal. Being able to read somebody's body in that way, being able to being able to make other people experience that, I was quite fascinated about. And that's where I thought, okay, I have to look a bit more into it. What my teacher was saying makes sense now, that yes, this is a place where I can and I should be learning much more. And
Mm-hmm.
then as I started attending regularly, then again he mentioned that you should start Prashantji's classes as well. Do both of their classes. And gradually, it did take time. So I'll be honest here. I've mentioned this to Prashantji as well. That initially, definitely, not that I understand anything, everything that he says still, but definitely much better than what I was. And it did take some time to get used to his teachings. And in those early days, he used to make us do separately certain things. He used to pick up a few of us who were youngsters at that time, get us to do various things, fast movements, while
Mm-hmm. Doing
others were
different.
following his instructions. Yeah,
What did
so it
he
was quite interesting.
What did he say when you mentioned to him that, you were not understanding or you were so confused?
Well, he laughed. He laughed at it because I think he knows as well. He
Mhm.
knows that not everyone who just keeps nodding understands what he's saying. So at least I think at least he must have appreciated that I was being honest and open about things that I didn't understand or I didn't understand. I feel it's better to say it aloud because that's when he can explain it better rather than just pretending, oh no, I got everything and yes, it's nice and I understood.
Mhm.
No point in that, I feel.
Yeah, it's actually a part of the work that we are doing through the practice of yoga, letting go of our ego, letting go of the idea to look, to sound smarter and more intelligent than we are. There's no reason to pretend to be someone who we are not. And
What is what is the point in trying to prove you're smart and you are a particular kind? Because I realized this quite early over there. These people can see through. These people, as in Guruji, Geetaji, Prashantji, they can see through what what you are. So no point in hiding or trying to put a mask and pretend, because you are, they can read you really well. No
Mm-hmm.
point in trying to pretend. If you don't understand, might as well just admit it. There is a chance they can explain. They might say that you're not getting such a simple thing. Fair enough. They're my teachers. They have the right to say that. But they are, I realized there are teachers who strive hard to really get the students to understand. So if I just say that, yes, yes, I got everything, that ends it. They'll move on. That weak thing that I haven't understood can just remain like that.
It's actually very interesting and also funny. I watched one video with Guruji where he was guiding a group of students and he was explaining something, and at the same time very attentively observing everyone's reaction. And he said that everyone seems to agree, and everyone is nodding to what I'm saying, but in fact none of you is understanding what I'm talking about.
Exactly. So they can see through. They
Mhm.
can easily make out whether you're just nodding, not understanding, or if you're getting at least something.
And when did the practice of yoga really kick in for you? How and when did you realize kind of an impact that a practice of yoga could have on your body and on your mind?
To tell you honestly, the initial image of what yoga practice is or was I had seen some people like sitting with their eyes closed in Padmasana. Like I think if you ask any other person, of course, these days yoga is widely known. What at least people know about it, whether right or wrong, it's
Mm-hmm.
different story. What they know about it is different, but it's a familiar thing. It's not an unheard of term anymore. So, but my impression was of either people sitting, senior people, elderly people sitting with eyes closed, sitting in poses like Padmasan or Vrikshasana. That was a pose. And then Shirshasana. Yes, Shirshasana is what I had seen. So that's what yoga is all about. So having a background of kicking, punching, jumping, this seemed pretty much stationary and maybe something which has to be done in like older age.
Mm-hmm.
That was my impression. And that's why that initial reluctance or hesitance when I was asked to be at this institute. So that's where it started. But the very first class, as I mentioned, Geetaji's class, where I realized, and obviously she did make us work hard there. And even though we were holding, like it was not jumping, kicking, punching, but the way she was making us work in the asanas was quite challenging and demanding. So it did test me for that, means knowing that it's not jumping, because I had that pride in my mind coming from the taekwondo background, doing hundreds of kicks within 1 hour. I knew I was strong. I, in a way, had that pride of like, I'm strong. And this is something which, as again, people think about yoga as good for stretching, good for doing once a week thing. I did come with that mindset that this is going to be good to just stretch and make sure my body remains supple enough and it takes care of all the wrongdoings of the taekwondo practice, jumping, punching, all of that. But then as this class happened, I realized I got the feel of what exactly is happening here. And I was getting more curious about it. Means got that feel of how this is relevant, how this is linked to what I was interested in. I was interested the way the body was working, functioning, and they were going in so much of depth over here. So that's when it didn't take me long thereafter to realize that there is something interesting, or there's something which needs to be like sought after over here. And then what happened like later on, the step by step, the way things changed. Obviously, I started making friends over there. So
Some
friends,
community.
yeah, that started having a different gravity of its own.
Mhm.
That was attracting. Then I realized people from people come from far off places, different countries, and they're traveling all the way. I live barely a kilometer away from the institute. 1.2 kilometers is the distance.
Mhm.
I was thinking, oh, people are traveling thousands of miles, coming across continents, and they are feeling grateful and happy about being here. I, I, I
Mhm.
thought I felt like a child. Means you must have seen a child. Perhaps a particular toy, the child doesn't like it as much, and it's just there. But when someone else comes and starts wanting that toy, suddenly that toy becomes the favorite toy of the child. So somewhat on those lines. When others, I saw people were so happy about coming here, spending time. I remember meeting one person who was saying he traveled somewhere across India, but he was happy that he could spend 1 hour at the institute. And on the way back, on the way out, just happened to cross path, and he was like all happy, and you could see his face, jovial and happy about being there. He was saying, I'm so happy that I came all the way and I could spend 1 hour over here. I thought, okay, this fellow is happy about spending just 1 hour. I I feel lucky to be allowed to attend the classes, to be here. I should take this seriously, as in should not look at this casually. And that's how I just changed my thought process there. I feel these two, three incidences changed my thought process about being there. And obviously the friends,
Mhm.
as we evolved over there, as we grew up over there, it it was special. That bond obviously played a big role in me continuing over there.
So who were these people who you were practicing with, and where are they now? Like the part of the
So,
community.
they're all teachers now over there. Raya, Abhi, Abhay, Amir. They're all other senior teachers. There was Gulnaz, there's uh, so many other
Okay,
teachers.
so they're all
And
from your
Raj
generation.
Lakshmi Tai, and some means more or less similar age. Some of them obviously elder and senior, but it was still more like means Raj Lakshmi Tai, for example. She is so much senior, but she still, we can look at her as a friend or as a colleague over there, and that's the beauty of it. Means the age. There are so many others who have their children of our age or perhaps even slightly elder than us, but still I think as our friends, and
Mhm.
then these are kids of my friends. So that is that place created that kind of environment, I think. So it's quite interesting in that way.
Mm, that's very interesting. What I'm also curious to learn about is how the motivation to pursue the subject of yoga and to continue with your practice evolved for you during these years. You started yoga because your master said so. You followed his direct instructions very sincerely. Then you developed some curiosity and interest for the subject, and it continued like this. Then you started teaching. So, how would you describe your motivation and your purpose to practice yoga today?
Well, now obviously means it's I like continuing to study there and keeping on learning. I never had this intention that I will be teaching and I'll be traveling to teach and all. At that time, it was interesting. I was enjoying, or I was fascinated with the experiences that I was having in the classes, the way things would change, the way I would feel after the class, the way I would feel the soreness. Because as I said, like coming from the background where we were working so hard and visibly hard with all that active work, as against not having that kind of active work or jumping, or means unless you're doing some jumpings practice, you could still be in trikonasana and with all that focus, and then next day feel really sore in different areas where you work. So that was fascinating. That was interesting to me. So initially, that's where it started. That's where it continued. And I was just keen to keep learning and experiencing that. While that was happening, my education was going on. I did my well, bachelor's in computer science. Then, as the flow happened, completed my master's as well in computer science. But all this while I was learning, it was good to just continue with the classes, because then, because I'm learning, no one was questioning about, okay, what are you doing about the job now, what is it that you're looking for. So that question remained that way, and I was happily continuing with my classes here. Then that changed when the education completed. I was supposed to find some job then, so family situation demanded that I should start earning. So I got through for a reputed, like I got through at a reputed software company at that time. But I just realized the timing started 8 o'clock in the morning. I had to be at the bus stop for the pickup bus, and it took around 7:30, 8 o'clock by the time I could return to the same bus stop from their home. So suddenly everything stopped. By then, I was teaching privately. I did have my private students who I used to visit their houses and teach. So at that time, I was allowed or introduced to that kind of teaching. So that dilemma was pretty much there. So it went on for some time, and like 2 3 days into it, I mentioned it to my father that I don't think this is for me. I'm not enjoying, and I'm really sad that I'm leaving all of this. By then, even family had seen that I'm interested into this. I'm sincere about something. So, yeah, I give credit to my parents for this when they said that even though the situation demanded software job, they were like well-paid jobs,
Yeah.
and the situation would have changed, the financial situation of the family at that time. But still, they said that, okay, then what do you plan to do? What would you do to support yourself and contribute? I thought for a while, and then I picked up teaching then. So that happened. This allowed means as teaching, I started giving visiting lectures in one of the universities there. That gave me ample of time to be at the institute, then free time to continue with this. So till it went on. And then was eventually asked to teach at the institute. I started teaching there, and then it picked up until we moved here in UK. My wife had to travel here for work. That got extended. Then she asked me if I would like to join or I should try and join. Then it changed. So never realized like the way it has gone. I just feel grateful, feel glad that I'm able to share something which I've learned over there, or still continue to learn. So the motivation, what keeps me going, is just being happy to share. Means there's nothing, happy to continue to learn and happy to just continue to share. I think I feel quite blessed to be like to be doing what I'm able to do here. So calling it as a profession or thinking of it as a job, I'm glad that this can be said that this is the work I do. It doesn't feel like it when I'm just trying to share or trying to experience something, learn something, continue to do that.
And how does your family look at what you're doing today? since you decided not to pursue any IT job, or rather leave that path and instead step on the path of yoga more seriously and more deliberately. What do you think is their opinion about your choice today?
No, I think back there or back then, like right there and then, they were okay, or they were supportive about it, and I assume, I think they should be happy and proud of what has happened
Mm-hmm.
thereafter.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it is, again, it is great on their part. Even with my wife, it was because I did pick up teaching at the university, and then that was a full-time job for some years. I think 5 6 years I used to have my morning classes where I was teaching privately, then a regular day job, finish that by evening, and then come to the institute, and then the day would end at 9 9:30 something, and then again early morning by 6 o'clock I had to be out of the house. So it used to be quite extensive, or quite a long day at that time. So when we moved here, or when my wife came to UK and started working here, she said, give it a try. Means you've always cribbed about not having enough time due to such kind of routine. You wanted to practice more, you wanted to read more, and which is not happening. Try it over here. You don't need to work, you don't need to start searching for job right away. Take some time off,
Figure
practice,
it out.
read,
Mm-hmm.
figure it out, and as and when you want, you can pick up a job. As and when you want, you can, if it doesn't suit you, you feel we can't stay here, we can get back. So that was really kind and considerate on her behalf. I often feel that she was really sweet and considerate, to put it this way, because obviously there was a strong pull at the institute, and things were kind of set over there. Though it
Mm-hmm.
was a hectic day, a long day, but everything was set in place. I had my regular students, I had these classes, these wonderful teachers to look forward to. Leaving that and coming was a big decision, but it was thanks to the way I think it was put up that I could decide to travel. Yeah, without that, I don't think I would have had the courage to take such decisions, or things would have been quite different without
Mm-hmm.
that support. It took me quite some time to. I remember I came in February when this decision happened that I'll be moving to UK for some time at least. It was like, again, the sweet on Guruji's part, when I just mentioned it to him, and I had no intentions of teaching because I didn't know how things work over here. I did have some of my friends, college friends over here, and they said, "Oh, great, you're coming. You should teach us and take our classes." And we have shoulder problem, this problem, back problem. I said, "Okay." So I just spoke to Guruji. I said, "My friends over there are asking, and I'm just, is it okay if I teach them?" Guruji said, "No, no, you have to go through a proper process." And he just explained me what the association, the way it works. And then he gave a recommendation letter as well along with that. And that was really sweet of him. And I was touched because I was just going there I went there just to inform him that this has to happen and I need to go there for some time. And reading further ahead, or having that vision of what needs to happen or what can happen, he just quickly, he suggested these things. He wrote a letter and said, "Okay, come tomorrow and get it printed, and you will need this."
Mm-hmm.
Was That was great. So all of these things, obviously, I can't help but feel grateful about all of these things.
Um, and if we recall it, it was Guruji's wife who was supporting and encouraging him through his journey in yoga. There is this episode when big flood happened in Pune during the monsoon season, and they had to quickly leave the house. And out of anything, she saved the manuscripts of the Light on Yoga. So,
Correct, correct, correct. Yeah, I've never got to
so
meet her, but yes, I've heard these stories, and I've heard Guruji always giving credit to his wife.
So, you walked us down the memory lane about the beginning of your teaching journey and how you started giving classes in the institute in Pune. Can you speak a little more about it? Because I've learned that it was Guruji who assigned you personally to start teaching classes in Pune. What was your reaction to that, and how did you decide to submit? And what was the most challenging part for you in the beginning of your teaching practice?
Well, there, so again, it's a incident. So I remember how it happened. I, as we started, there was in 2002, there was a teachers training which was conducted at the institute, and I I got a chance to be part of it. We were obviously there in a group of teachers, group of participants, and I think maybe I might have been noticed or might have been seen in that program. And then we were asked to assist. So Abhijat, me, we were assisting the children class. There was another teacher who was conducting the class, and we would assist. Then gradually we got a chance to we were supposed to teach there for 5-10 minutes some part of the class, and that's how we would take turns. And so that is how the training gradually happened in the children class, and then assisting around in the classes, moving around, observing as in we were participating, and then assisting. So that's how the initial training happened, and I was happy with all of that going on. It was like phenomenal to have so much given, so much pouring in every day, and you're trying your best to just absorb it all. While walking out of the institute, Guruji just called, "Hey, come here." I went and touched his feet, and yes, Guruji, he said, it was sometime, I think, early in the year. So could be February, March, I think. He said, to Panduranga, who was the secretary, who would manage everything over there. He said, go to Pandu and tell him that I have, as in Guruji has told me to take a beginner's class. I was shocked. Like I was stunned when he said that. I said, okay, means again, Guruji says something, you follow. So I thought I'll pass on the message. I went in and I said, Pandu sir, Guruji mentioned that he has asked me, he's told me to teach a beginner's class. And he's asked me to tell this to you. My job is done. I gave the message. I ran out. I didn't try to ask what is next or what is going to happen further. Quite stunned because this is a place where we have such phenomenal teachers. We have so much to learn. And how can I stand in front and teach her? this was this was completely bizarre. I conveyed the message, things my job was done, I thought. It didn't happen. I don't know what, maybe he was already done with his planning and the next year's timetable was set or something like that. It didn't happen. So again, that topic didn't come up. The year went by. Exactly around a year later, next year, similar situation. Guruji used to sit outside the house. And as I was walking out of the institute, he called, "Hey, come here. You didn't listen. I told you, you don't listen to me." What happened now? I had no clue. Means by then I had forgotten about it. I told you to take a class there, and why haven't you done it? Then I was like, Guruji, how can I? What do you mean? How can I? Do you think I don't know what I'm doing? Not like that. But I was, what are you saying? But and this, and didn't I tell you to go and tell Pandu you should go and start a class there, start teaching? Okay. I thought then this is something serious and should be pursued. I went and I said, Sir, I told you last time and that didn't happen. Guruji is angry about it. So he's asked me to, he's told me to teach a class upstairs. So how can you arrange it? And then, yes, he said, okay, fine. We'll find the time. What is the suitable time? This is the slot. This is the time which you can come and teach. Is it okay for you? I said, okay, okay. That's where it started at the institute.
How was your first
Yeah.
class? Do you remember the thrill?
At the institute, I I can't recall the first class I taught over there because by then, as I said, like we had various incidences where we were made to teach in front of the class. Even Geetaji used to make us like teach, and during the month like March and April, where the crowd used to be less as the heat would start increasing, the visitors, the numbers would go down, and that's when she would get us to teach in the classes as well. So all of that happened and it continued to happen. So it uh, unfortunately I can't remember the exact class which was the first one which I conducted on my own as such at the institute. Some funny incidences I can remember: being in front of the class and reciting the invocation. I goofed up with that. I missed out few verses and suddenly Hari Om. I went later on. I went and I said, this is what happened. She started laughing. Idiot. You should remember. You should memorize it. The another means I don't know if you haven't asked, but I just
Yes,
remember
please.
a funny incident. So my, as I said, my schedule was in the morning. I used to have private classes outside, daytime job, and then evening I used to be at the institute, either attending a class, learning, or then teaching the class which I was assigned. So one of the evenings, I conducted the class, and the class was supposed to end at 8 o'clock. So 7 to 8 was the class time. So as I was teaching, and at the end, I I made everyone get into Viparita Karni, so which is
Mhm.
lying with the feet against the wall and having some height under the waist. I thought, okay, there is space even. I'll try and just get my feet up. It has been a long day. I went into it, had few instructions, and then just settled down. Stay there for a minute, stay there for a short while, and I think I've said like that. Next, I remember one of my friend's wife who used to attend my class. She came up and started shaking tapping on my shoulder. I think, like, come on, it's 8:10. Everyone is up and leaving now. I was like, okay, I don't know in class. That was so embarrassing, and one of the like embarrassing moments to fall asleep as a teacher there. But don't join the class in supine pose.
Mhm, mhm. But I'm sure your students understood.
It
Yeah.
is funny. I think it would be
Yeah.
funny to be in a class where the teacher falls asleep.
Yeah. It's true.
I'm sure they would have had a laugh and had fun about this fact. But
Mhm.
yeah, it happened. You can't do anything about it then.
You've just finished listening to the first part of my interview with Uday, which has been very insightful for me. Join us in the next episode as we continue to dive deeper and explore the meaning of compassion in Iyengar Yoga and how a yoga teacher should approach it. In the second part of the interview, Uday will also share his guidance to junior yoga teachers on how to build balance in life when starting their teaching journey so one could thrive and serve their students. We will also discuss how to approach your yoga practice so that you evolve and are not simply led by your likes and dislikes. Take care and see you in the next episode.